man got the tractor beam out of commission, or this is gonna be a real short trip. Okay, hit it!
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Hey.
So it's been a little while since we've done a collection tour. A long while. I can't even remember the last one we did, but we got a pretty cool one here. Robert, I'm sure a lot of people have seen your posts on our Facebook group, and the things that jump out at everybody right away are the life-size pieces right behind you. So I'm sure everybody recognizes right now who you are and your collection. So
yeah,
we're gonna go see a little tour of your collection, and check out all cool stuff. And
excellent.
So do you want to tell us a little?
Yeah, I'd be glad to share it with all of you and go over a bunch of stuff that I got and go from there.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. When you started collecting, how it came about.
Well, this started off as a family joke that my first movie that I saw was Star Wars, and in actuality, my parents went to go see Star Wars, and then 24 hours less, I was born. So I was like, "What is that?" Kicking out of there. So yes. So growing up, I didn't have like the toys right off the start. I didn't get the toys or anything until Jedi. Had a bunch of the toys then, and I still have them to this day. But not really something I really pursued to collect was the older toys. And then once Power of the Force 2 came out around 95 or so, and everything started to kick back up and collectible wise, that's where I fell back into it and just really started collecting. I started with the toys, buying collections and stuff, and then I end up as one of those dealers that would work convention shows and online, where I was started selling a lot of the toys and stuff that was out there. And that's essentially helped to really build everything that you see right here. A couple of the questions that I got once I first posted this up is, "Oh my God, he's a millionaire." Far from it. I am no way near a millionaire. If I'm lucky, I'm a hundredaire. So everything that you see is basically me working for over 25 years of buying, selling, trading, upgrading. And you hit that point where you're collecting with toys and stuff, and you look at yourself at your shelf, and you just see like a bunch of toys just cereal box. You're not even looking at the toys, you're just looking at the side of it because you just have so much of it stacked there. So it's to a point where it's just like I look at it and go, do I want to look at that, or do I want to look at 2 or 3 lightsabers? Well, that's what kind of spawned it, and then I started getting more into the props and replicas. So that's where it kind of started with me. And some of the stuff that I'll show you is kind of like some of the first stuff that I got that kind of really spawned into what we're looking at from there.
So I think a lot of misconceptions is, like people who have large collections have a lot of money, and that sometimes, a lot of times isn't the case. I mean,
no,
I'm
those with large collections have no money because they spend it on the collections.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just an electrician, and
yeah,
I've just been collecting for so long that I've accumulated all this stuff. Well, not most of this stuff, but late, like the props all behind me are new. But yeah, again, like most people think it's just you're a millionaire, but you're not. So
yeah.
I don't know many people at all that went out and bought that kick-ass collection.
No.
But I know a lot of people that started small and traded, maybe adding a little money along the way, but basically their pieces appreciated. They were able to trade them in and to buy something bigger. And then all of a sudden they're looking around and they're like, wow, this is a kick-ass collection, right? And
that gets to a point where it's just so big, it's an entity of its own, where it just keeps growing, where something new comes out and you're like, okay, I got to get it. It's just, I can't say no. I'm this far into the game. I got to get it. So
been there.
The other big question that I got when I throw everything up there is, no, I am not single. I am married. I do have a lovely, beautiful wife and 2 kids. I'm not. This is not my life that I do. You said you're an electrician. I'm in the same type of field. I do home remodelization, so not too far off from you guys.
Just grunts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
What's up, Jason?
Good evening.
Glad you can make it, brother.
Thanks for joining us, man. Sorry I was running a few minutes behind, but glad to be here.
And then you have Jason, who has no collection. He just lives in a box.
He lives in a hallway. Yeah.
Hallway.
His collection's in his heart. He carries it with him wherever he goes.
What we don't see is that around the
Just
corner
keep it
there
simple.
is a toilet, and his camera is on the sink facing.
Yeah.
Right, Jay?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Well, let's get into it. So I'm just gonna go through some things, and we'll dwell on some. So, are these sideshow pieces?
These are not. When you come, this whole entire collection is in my basement. When my wife and I moved into this house, the basement had nothing in it. There was not even one 2x4 wall or anything. So I had the free reign of being able to design the whole entire basement to fit for my collection that I had. And I actually, believe it or not, had a lot of this before I even got married. So she kind of knew what she was walking into when we got together. So when you come down the stairs, I got it set up. So the first thing that you see is the first two characters you see in all of Star Wars, R2-D2 and C-3PO. Now these here are the Don Post statues.
Okay.
Now the riser that they are on is a sideshow riser. But when I purchased these two statues, they didn't have the riser to them. They were kind of set up just as you see right side by side. They do have the placards to them still of their limited edition, but they just didn't have the base. And the base wasn't really much to them originally. They were just sheets of plywood spray painted and kind of just set on top of them. So,
How about
how about this?
print?
This
the print is the Katie Cook Star Wars Celebration prints.
Okay.
The top one, A New Hope, what came when we had 200 piece limited edition, and then the Empire and Jedi had 250 limited piece. So
These are
that's
interesting.
a complete set of all three.
Nice.
So, and if anyone's interested, I have a duplicate set in storage. So I got two complete sets.
Now, would this be interesting to you, CC?
I don't have the space for it,
Oh, okay. Well, you got your
Yeah.
ceiling.
but I know, right? It's gonna come to that where everyone keeps telling me like, you have ceilings, right? You have space. That means you have space. But I love that you thought of putting R2 and C-3PO in the beginning, like the start of your room, because they're like the two characters you see the first.
Exactly, and
That's awesome.
when I was kind of setting, and you're going to see that along in other areas of the basement. I try to keep. I like to try to keep it like movie oriented and character in it, so it's kind of like in its own groupings. And a lot of people say it's a museum when they come down here, and a lot of that's due to the way that I kind of set it up.
Mhm.
So, but
I love this Adam Hughes piece.
Robert,
that's
tell
one
me
of my favorite pieces.
Tell me you have a duplicate of that in storage.
I wish I did. I truly wish I did. Actually, it came by circumstance that I actually got that print because I was at the Star Wars Celebration convention where Adam Hughes had unveiled the print for that convention. And I just happened to be walking around the artist alley at that time, not even knowing that they were doing an artist alley. And I saw a group of people by his booth. And I'm like, I got to see what's going on over here. And they were just grabbing them left and right. I'm like, okay, yeah, I need to take one too. So
Adam Hughes
got
is
it, and then I just fell in love with it. And I just went around the entire artist alley and just pretty much got every single print that I saw there in the whole entire show.
Adam Hughes is one of my favorite artists. I've always wanted to get a art commission from him. And back before they were, when they were around the $1,500 price range, I jumped on and never got on the list. I'd go to conventions to try to get on his list and never was able to do it. I always told my wife, I'm not marrying her until I get a Adam Hughes print. But yeah.
Well, the funny thing is that when I got this print, it actually was not signed by Adam Hughes at all. For some reason, it either missed him signing it, but it was just a blank space. So I did follow up with him at another convention. I said, I got to get this print signed. I don't know if it's supposed to be signed or not, but at least I got to get it signed by you. So gracious enough, right down at the bottom corner there, he was able to sign it for me.
Nice.
So now these here, there's more detailed pictures coming up. They are, what are these exactly?
So those are actual film reel trailers for the movies.
Okay.
That's actual 35 millimeter film that they show before the movie starts. So these were shown actually during other movies to help promote the Star Wars, like Star Wars actually needs to be promoted. So if you go into the next picture, which will focus on the bottom stuff there, those are from the special edition. Those are the trailers for the trilogy, the dual trailer for Empire and Jedi, and the trailer for Jedi.
Okay.
So just to get an idea for their actual size, this here right next to me, it's about the size of my palm. This is the Return of the Jedi trailer. And this one here is, I can just put it back up there. This one right here at the size is runtime 2 minutes exactly. So this is 2 minutes of 35 millimeter film. So if you can imagine how big an actual movie reel would be, this is only 2 minutes here. They can be quite large, and some of them are actually in series that kind of tie into on that. The cool thing that I think was with Star Wars and especially film, when you get into some of the other stories and out there, let's say like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, and somebody says, well, according to Harry Potter, they're talking about the books. Harry Potter started as books. The books are the lore. Same thing with Lord of the Rings. You go back to the books. Marvel, it's comics. Star Wars, it's film. Star Wars is one of the only ones that the true canon and lore is film. In fact, Disney made that really solidified when they bought Lucasfilm. They decided to wipe out all literature, all backstory. We're going to make that legacy. The actual true stuff is film. So when I look at something like this isn't a first edition book. This is a first edition of Star Wars.
I see you have the Revenge of the Jedi one there too.
I do have Revenge of the Jedi.
Nice.
So that one is obviously a very, very rare piece. And I actually have the trailer for Star Wars from 1977. So this is the oldest item that I have in my collection, because actually that is out before the actual film itself came out. People saw this before they even saw the movie.
What is that, 77?
77-21. I'm not sure what the code for is on that, but it does have it highlighted on the back for the picture rating. If it's rated G, PG, R, or X. There is no PG-13 because this was obviously before PG-13 rating.
Right. Nice.
Yeah.
Now the large reel there, that is the reel number 7, the last reel for Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith. And you can see how big this thing is. This is one reel of 7 reels for the movie.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Wow.
This is sealed in its wrap still, and this actually would contain the infamous lightsaber duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin, where Anakin also becomes Vader, and the birth of the twins Luke and Leia. So that's all sealed there, as I consider as a first edition film print.
Cool.
What I think about what's really interesting about the trailers is that's something very unique. I haven't really saw something like that before, especially where you have them all. And you're right. This is the first time. I mean, I wasn't born yet, but for most people who were alive at that time, this is the first time they were introduced to it, whether it was on TV or in the theater, right? Coming. And even like Empire Strikes Back, I know the trailer aired quite some time before the movie was released. So you got that teaser. And in addition to that, I mean, those are meant to be ephemeral. They weren't meant to last. They weren't meant to be, saved or salvaged. I mean, they were meant to be run.
They're actually property of the film companies. They're actually supposed to be sent back to them, but some
exactly. So having that and piecing together, all 3 or even having the 4th is in the variations is amazing. That's fantastic.
So Matt would like this. He's in the pinball machines.
So I started getting into some game systems for Star Wars. Actually, the first pinball machine I got was not a Star Wars machine. It was a Close Encounters of the Third Kind from 1979. which I still have, but resides at my parents' house right now. And then I got the first one there, the Data East Star Wars pinball. If you go into the other photos coming up, you can see closer photos of each of the pinball machines. So that's the Mandalorian limited edition pinball machine. They only made 750 units of that. That's number 749 out of 750.
I like this over here. This, like,
yeah, they do the extra little details on it, which are very cool. They got the blaster on the side. It's got the different artwork from the others. It has what they call the Beskar print, which is more reflective on the very top panel there.
okay.
And then that's the limited edition Star Wars pinball machine with the R2-D2 topper. That's a limited edition of 800 pieces. And I think the R2 topper, they only made 500 of them.
Okay.
Do you play it much?
I do. I think my 6-year-old son plays it a heck of a lot more than I do. I always come home and I find him downstairs trying to beat my scores.
These were fun to play. Are these the old line
Sega.
arcades, the original ones?
Yep, that's the original sit-down
X-Wing.
Star Wars trilogy arcade, the deluxe edition with the seat. And that is a Star Wars slot machine. That is a Japanese Pachizlo slot machine that actually takes coins. There's two types of Japanese slot machines. There's the Pachizlo, which is that one right there, which is what they call a skill stop machine. So you would put your coins in, it would start showing scenes from the movie, or the reel will spin, and then you press those 3 little white buttons on the front, and it will stop it exactly when you hit those buttons to try to get them to line up to win. The other one, the Pachinko machine, is more of like the one that plays with the silver marbles. But this one here is a lot rarer one to find. And on top of that is, that's not actually part of that unit. That is an actual Las Vegas slot machine topper. Once Disney acquired Lucasfilm, they immediately had Las Vegas and all other gambling facilities destroy and dismantle all Star Wars slot machines. They did not want to be affiliated with gambling at all. So that is actually part of the Las Vegas slot machine, including with the next couple photos we see. That
I never
is
realized
the,
that Lucasfilm was affiliated, so that's interesting to learn.
what's that?
I said I didn't realize that Lucasfilm was affiliated. I would have assumed, like, because they're so selective, that may be something that they would shy away from. But it's interesting to learn.
Yeah, you can actually find some pictures of the full machines online. This is the Death Star topper. The one topper that you just saw on top of my slot machine, that would be located on top of this spinning Death Star. So that would spin around with the numbers for different types of jackpots to be won. And then there was another topper, which is in the next slide. That is the Yoda slot machine topper.
Oh, okay.
If you look behind him, you can see the call button on top of him. He does have lights on his wrist and on each side. And if you take a look at his one hand, it's a foam block right where your arrow is.
Right there.
Yeah, so the detail on it is pretty solid, but you have to remember this thing's going to be sitting above your head, probably about 10 feet in the air. So you're not going to be really looking down on it at all, because it's supposed to be on top of the slot machines looking down on you.
Getting filled with cigarette smoke stains.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Lightsaber.
Lots in the cabinet. And
So,
oh, go ahead.
are these? I mean, are these the Disney ones, or
Everything on the stands are the Disney sabers. Those are from the Disney parks from Batuu. The ones that are next to them, I have not yet got stands for. Those are empty hilts of different Jedis. There's the Ahsoka that I had, but there's also Kai-Dai-Mundi, Plo Koon, Saesee Tiin, Luminara Undali. Some of the other ones that are there that they have not done as an official release yet. So I do have those. I tend to collect more towards the licensed prop replicas. If I buy something that's not licensed prop, it's basically a placeholder in my collection until they do come out with the official, and then I kind of switch them out from then at that point.
So what's this?
That is the Geno Giant animated Slave Leia Marquette. And then
We don't have that one, Steve.
Yeah, I was. I'm gonna have to go find that.
Gotta find that one, Steve.
The maquette, huh?
The small animated statues that they came out with, yeah.
Yeah.
What are these here? Are these the?
Those I have upcoming pictures that will show a little bit because it was hard to take a picture with the glare from the light. So I took some
Right.
closer pictures of some of the items that are there.
Okay.
On top of it is the other Disney stuff, but everything else will show more into some pictures here. So
That's
those
right.
are the Icons lightsabers. Icons being as one of the official licensed prop replicas that came out. In fact, that's how I really got into collecting replicas. So
This is some of the first stuff we've seen, Rob. Going way
Yeah.
back for those in the chat. I mean, this is before EFX. This is before Master Replica.
Yep.
Yeah, these are some great pieces. You don't see too many of these around anymore.
No,
least
I
not
did a large run of them, but
complete,
they're kind of scarce. You don't see them pop around as much. So
No,
the
you
next
don't.
picture,
And if you do, they're never complete. You know, they don't have the plaques or the cases. And
yep, or they're missing their box, the foam, the paperwork. So this is the Luke Skywalker Icons lightsaber. This is the very first prop replica that I ever got, and that's what kind of set me off on the collection that you see around me. I remember being with my parents and we were walking around a local mall, and they ended up having an FAO Schwartz toy store there, and this was in their window. And as I walked, I stopped instantly in my tracks, and I'm like, "What is that?" So I'm like, "I got to get it. I don't care what it is or how much. I got to get it." So I went into the store to get it, and as I was getting it, the guy at the register said, "Yeah, we're supposed to be getting the Vader's ones in too." I'm like, "Okay, I'll be back." Put my name down. And that's what started into everything. So if you go back one, Icons, they came out with the lightsabers, and they were supposed to come out with the Han Solo blaster. And this is where the company went bankrupt, and they never did the full production run of the blaster. They only came out with less than 25 artist-proof editions that were given out to execs or what have you. So there's less than 25 of those in the world. That's got the full cocking hammer. You can look through the sight. You can pull the trigger. It's fully movable and operational. And they only made like 25 of them.
Very cool.
Believe it or not, I actually had 2 of those in my possession at one time. Very,
Now,
very.
how-
That was my grail for the longest time to find, and I ended up coming across 2 of them.
Jason, how accurate are these compared to, let's say, because they're older, are they as accurate, like they're accurate to the original, or
yeah,
are they
so
missing
Icons
pieces,
is
or
one of the Icons is one of the first companies that when Go Unlicensed had. This is when they started the access to reference and the archives. So they were able to go in, scrutinize the prop, whatever variation of the prop at that time. As we know that there's a few variations of the DL44. But I mean, this, like when you compare this, say the Master Replica, this one has, as Robert mentioned, you can see through the sight versus just having the sticker. It can cock, and then you have a great weathering job on this as well. So these were beautifully done. I think these were done well, but yeah, I mean, they're as close as you can get to what they had access to at the time. So yeah, they're pretty spot on.
sweet?
Yeah.
So these are the ones I'm wondering about. These are the EFX ones.
The top 2 are by EFX. Once Lucasfilm started producing video games, some of the games, starting with the Force Unleashed 2, the box that's there in front, they commissioned a company. They commissioned Solo's Hold to make a limited edition saber as a promotional piece. They on the back of that box there, they said that they only made 30 of those units there to be given out for that. When new games came out, such as Jedi Fallen Order and Knights of the Old Republic, they commissioned EFX to make a promotional saber as well. So that one, there's the Master Orgus saber, very beautiful done, and then the other one is Cal's saber.
Yeah, I was actually I've actually had this on a search on eBay. There's one that I've been waiting, just looking at. It's a little too expensive, but it's pretty cool.
They just keep going up and up and up, just because there's no even though the box one shows a limited edition of 30 pieces, there's no idea of how many are made on the other two. They never published. I even called Brian over at EFX and said, "Hey, how many of these units were made?" And just crickets.
Yeah, he doesn't say. It's always like, oh, we just sent out enough for PR purposes. It's always his answer.
But those are all the the Batu sabers again, and then you go into the next picture, you get into the main area.
So these are the ones we think we're all mostly curious about.
Yep.
Because like I said, most people don't have these in their collections. I've never seen them in somebody's collection before. Where did you get them?
So that's one of the biggest questions I got, and I guess the big thing I can always, the biggest piece of information I can give you is it never hurts to ask. So when I was at a Star Wars convention, they had these as display pieces at that convention. They had them set up around promoting the new animated movie that was coming out. So right after the convention, I contacted Gentle Giant Studios and I said, "Hey, I really, really like those statues. Are those pieces that you are going to be coming out with? I would love to own a set." And this lady answered the phone and she's like, "Well, let me see. Let me transfer you." So she transferred me, and then all of a sudden I got the vice president of marketing of Gentle Giant Studios on the phone, and he's like, "I heard that you're really interested in the statues that we had at the show." I'm like, I definitely am. He's like, "Well, this is the situation. We were commissioned to make 5 sets. One set was the Toys R Us. One of them was at the show. One went to Lucasfilm Marketing, and so forth." And he's like, "My problem is I got one set sealed in the box on the dock still and shipping."
Wow.
And he's like, "If you're interested in it, I can put together a price for you." And I'm like, "I would absolutely love that, sir." So he asked me my address and I gave it to him. He's like, "Let me work on it and I'll give you a call back." I'm like, "Okay." Click. I'm like, "He's not calling back. There is no way." So a couple of days pass by and my phone rings. I look at it and I answer it, and it's like, "Oh my God." He's like, "So I worked together the price of the statues." Now the statues was actually a set of 4. The 4 statues are Ahsoka, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Rex. The other pieces were sold individually at Gentle Giant, from Gentle Giant as their Monuments series collection. But the other 4 statues, he told me that he can ship them to me, freight shipping, brand new in the box, $5,000 for all 4 statues.
Wow.
Yeah, and I said, "Sold."
You're like, "Say less. Say less."
Oh
Wow.
man.
So I couldn't pass that up. That was a remarkable find, and that just taught me it doesn't hurt to ask. Call over, talk to the manufacturer, talk to whoever you can, and say, "Hey, what's going on with that? I'm interested in it. I know it's a display piece, but what are you doing with it?"
Wow.
That's good advice, Rob, because there's a lot of pieces.
Those with the light up sabers, they actually come with 2 sabers each. They each come with a light up saber that plugs in and turns on, or they come with a solid, what I call a stunt saber. So if you don't have electricity to it at all, you can just plug it in. It's just a solid color of blue or green.
Wow. That's quite a story.
Those are killer. Absolutely.
Wow.
Especially because I think if there's a franchise, or well, rather not a franchise, but a niche of Star Wars that a lot of people don't collect, I would say it's Clone Wars and Rebels. As a big Thrawn fan, I know Rebels is like there's a huge deficit in the market there.
But the thing is with Rebels and Clone Wars, for us in the high end prop statue, there's not a lot out there.
Yeah.
Because what happened is, I mean, when Clone Wars was running towards its end, Disney took over. They wanted to focus on Disney stuff. That's why you're seeing everything Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, independent films, all that other stuff. I would really love for them to come out with more of the animated.
Well, especially because it continues to be more relevant with the Ahsoka series, with the live action. So maybe we'll see more one day.
So are these custom? I mean, a lot of them are master replicas, right? And
they're all master replicas, Anubis or EFX. There are some Gentle Giant busts on the bottom. That row there in the middle, that's all custom. Those
yeah,
are
I was
all,
gonna say.
yeah. That's my ones that might be shifted and moved as I start to make more space, and that's my challenge now. Is when something new comes out, where am I going to put it? And so
Yeah, welcome to our
What's
world.
going to be sacrificed.
Same,
But
I think it's the same for all of us.
yeah, exactly. But that's the thing that I liked when I was doing my basement and setting up for my display is I was originally looking at display cases, and with the amount that I have to display, I was doing the math. And I'm like, there's no way I can't get all these cases in there or what have you. Whereas if I build my own shelves, which I did, that's an 8-foot wide area by 7.5 feet tall. And so on an 8-foot wide area, I got 40 helmets.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I did the same thing right behind me.
yep. So when I was setting up my basement, the way it came out that way is I had the life-size statues as what you can see in the corners. I have A New Hope Stormtrooper statue, the Empire Vader, and then the Return of the Jedi Fett. And once I set them in the areas, it kind of flowed. I'm like, oh, we got Empire, Jedi, we got Empire. We got A New Hope, Empire, and then Jedi in a row, and kind of focused. Okay, well, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, I can do all the troopers to Empire, to Sith, to Mandalore Fett, and then just around. And that's what I kind of like with my setup is that I'm able to keep that flow going around instead of kind of mixing everything up and kind of getting jumbled in translation.
Where did you get these two?
Those two are custom mades. They never came out with the episode. The prequel Royal Guards.
Right. Yeah.
Who's the cheese grater?
That is Shepperton Design Studios.
Okay.
The Praetorian.
It's about the same.
Yeah, that's the Anovis or De Neo Nuevo. I can't get their name right
The
yet.
new Novos. The new
That's what it is.
Steve, what are you saying? Cheese grater?
The right next to the Death Star gunner. Yeah, that one there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, this
Yeah, you can tell it's got the Shepperton stand. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen the Shepperton stand before. That's
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they either do those or they do the option of like the encasement of the plexi.
Yeah. Okay. The melted Vader. That's the new one.
That's the
EFX.
EFX. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The 40th anniversary Chrome Vader
Yep.
sideshow, the Legend. Now is that the EFX, the one on the base of the EFX Limited or the EFX Legend?
I'm sorry. Which one are you talking about?
To the right of the sideshow, left of the sideshow bust.
this one.
The silver one?
Yeah,
Oh, that okay
Yeah.
over there. Yeah, that's the Legend edition.
that's the Legend. Okay.
That's the
a
Legend, and then
great
next to
helmet.
that's the dual signature Master Replicas,
Master
Episode 3.
Yeah.
How about the Veers? What is that?
That's a custom as well. That's a placeholder for me until somebody comes out with an actual Veers helmet.
All right.
We may know somebody. Oh, you know what though?
He's
my
so
info.
subtle.
Yeah. Hopefully, very soon. It's supposed to be coming soon. So now this here is what I'm wondering about right there.
Yeah.
I want that.
Yes, that's another find for me. That's obviously a custom. No one's came out with the concept Macquarie Fett. So
Yeah.
and
That
then
I want.
that's my Macquarie shelf right there. I just trying to find a spot to make it work.
That's a very nice looking shelf.
Is this the EFX Macquarie one?
That's the EFX Signature Edition Macquarie. Believe it or not,
Yeah,
what's that?
we see a lot of 3D printed purple garbage ones
Yeah.
floating around.
And that's why I like to really collect
The license, yeah.
thank you, licensed stuff, because with 3D printers now, it's just crazy. You can just make whatever you
Too
want.
much room for error. Yeah,
It's-
it's too much room for
It's
error.
not bad. I've seen some amazing work. I've seen stuff that's even better detailed than licensed stuff at times. But I just got to stay with the licensed stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like most people aren't getting the color right on this thing. It's like a black blue rather than a purple,
Yeah.
green, whatever.
And the hilts, are those the voodoo hilts?
Which hilts?
The ones on the Mick Vader stand, are those the voodoo hilts from like 6 or 10 years ago or something?
Yeah, those are. I got those. Actually, the company that I got them from was called CIG, CIG, Cosmic Intergalactic something. I don't know if they
Okay.
made the hills or just did the electronics on it.
Yeah, they did the electronics for them because you were able to do them like static or have the electronics put in.
Yeah, so I got it where
But
they did the
that's a nice
electronics
setup.
on it, and I got one right here. They actually did a pretty nice job on it. So you pull the back to it. Sorry if that's too loud, but they do the color light up on it.
Okay.
Hi, Tony. Tony's is watching us right now. He must be
Yeah.
pretty late out there.
It's like 3 in the morning. Yeah, 3 in the morning.
Man's dedicated.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Tony.
So yeah, we'll have to talk about where you got this. I want to find one of these Boba Fett helmets. All right, so next. Oh, yeah, more.
I just did different. Instead of the angle, I did them straight on as well for shots.
Very nice. Now, see, you have the two different, the newer one and the
I got the
older.
newer one and the older one. Yes, that's one of my vices. That again, they come out with another one, I got to get it. So even though I got two of them, I got to have each of the editions.
You can tell the difference of how much better the second one is.
Yes, yeah, they did a lot better job on the second one. I wish that they would have done a shorter stand to it to make it fit better for me, but
And Kylo's really nice too.
mm-hmm.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, you can see the blue in that too. Yeah.
It's black and blue, not purple and blue.
Yeah, it's definitely not purple. It's more of an iridescent.
I normally don't collect a whole lot of statues, but when I saw the McQuarrie premium formats, I had to get those, and I just had to stop at only the McQuarrie on those. So if they come out with more McQuarrie of the premium, I would love to get those. But anything else, I gotta restrain myself.
Now, who did the? I'm sorry, I don't recognize it. Who did the Stormtrooper?
That
Sideshow.
was.
Same as the Fett, the SGB.
Oh.
Right?
Are you talking about the statue or the helmet?
The helmet. I'm sorry.
The helmet. The helmet was done by Sky Gun Bro. It was a kid.
Oh, him.
He did the Fett, and then I think he's got a second version Fett that he does as well.
Okay.
Really? How are they? Are they pretty well made, Robert?
Yeah,
It's pretty
yeah,
decently made.
they're decent.
I got kind of a bad taste of my experience of trying to get that helmet, so it is decent made. It is decent. I didn't get that helmet from him directly. I got that from someone else.
Okay.
But yeah, it is a very good made helmet.
Have to get that. And the McQuarrie Raider too. That'd be freaking sweet to have. You can find those everywhere though.
Yeah. There's only 250 of them, but yeah.
You can't find them anywhere.
So those are the Fets, and then I had the blasters on each side. There's a signature blaster, and then above it is the Empire, which is actually a fan made one.
Okay.
Is that the Potomac or the Andy Myers one?
I'm sorry, what?
Is that the Potomac version, the Andy Myers one?
No, I don't know which one that is. I got that one very long ago. Somebody made that one, and I don't know which version that is. I got that one off of RPF.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's got a nice look, and I like how you did the display case as well. Like how you kept them both.
I was able to come up with find somebody that was just selling just the display case to the Fett blaster, so I got it simply just for that other blaster.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Who is that? The Novos Sabine?
No, that's actually a fan made. I forget who made that one. It's decent. It seems to be kind of narrow, but it's decent.
The Novos Sabine never came out, Steve.
That's
No, they haven't come out with them yet. There's seasons. Was it 2 and 4 that they got coming out or something?
Yeah, that's why I'm like, did you?
That one's more of a painted. That's more of a painted season 1 style there.
Wasn't sure if that was one of those phone calls for a prototype.
Yeah.
Hey guys, just asking.
No one's
that
that
was-
lucky, Steve.
Now, some of these have recently changed within the last few days from once I took these pictures because more stuff came in that I got to kind of figure out where to put. So stuff is getting moved around constantly, which is
Story
fine.
time.
I like it. Keeps me challenged.
That Kotobukiya set, the Bounty Hunter set, was one of the best sets they came up with. And I think the Vader in the center was the Build-A-Figure when you accumulate them all in the circular. Yeah.
And
That
on their
was,
bases, if you hit them, they all make a circle right around Fett and or right around Vader, and it has the
Yeah, it's like a,
Imperial.
it's like a hexagonal. It's like a hexagonal setup, right? Yeah.
Yep. It's a pretty cool thing. I've seen a lot of people make coffee tables out of it, with them in it. So this is one wall that changed a bit. Leia and Yoda are no longer there. In fact, if you look at the picture of me on the screen, you can see Leia's been moved because that was an empty wall that had to get space for the Regal Robot chess set that just came in.
Man,
Oh, you got it.
Rancor is
Yeah,
bottom
yeah.
shelf stuff, huh? Wow. Poor Rancor.
Well, actually, the funny thing is, when I started collecting, I was like, okay, I'm going to collect weapons. I love the prop replica weapons. I'm only going to do weapons. And then EFX came out with the McQuarrie helmet, and I'm like, damn it. So I got the McQuarrie helmet, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do weapons and helmets. That's it. I'm not going to get anything else. And then I'm getting all the helmets, and I never seen an official licensed Jango Fett helmet, but they made a Jango Fett bust. Oh, well, okay. Well, I'm just going to get the Sideshow bust, and then I'm going to get the aliens too. That'd be cool.
That's an exercise in futility because it never works out that way.
It never works out. So when I was at the Star Wars convention where they were coming out, when Regal Robot was coming out with the Chewbacca bust, I got there, and I was actually in the convention earlier, and I was waiting there. They weren't even finished setting up yet. So I was standing there patiently, and Tom kept on popping by. He's like, "Can I help you? I'm like, I'm just in line to get the Chewbacca bust. I'm just standing aside. Take your time. Do whatever you need to do. I am very patient." So they were taking care of their stuff, and he finally said, "Okay, come on, let's get these going on sales." So I was the first one up there, and he's like, "Okay, so you want the Chewie?" I'm like, "Yes." And I'm like, "I'm number one, so I'll be number one." He's like, "Nope, you can't have number one. Number one's already gone. I could put you like number 6 or something." I'm like, "Okay." And then he's like, "Do you want to get the Tauntaun?" And I'm like, "No, I don't really collect the small figure statues." And then the guy behind him's like, "I got number one." So I'm like, "Okay, I'll get the Tauntaun." So I got the Tauntaun, and it stayed sealed in its box for a bit while I debated. But as they started coming out with the others in the Rancor, I'm like, "Okay, yes, I guess I'm into this now too."
Steve,
Yeah.
see that plaque? Tauntaun number 1.
That's number one.
That piece is always, that piece kills me because I had it and I didn't like it. I just didn't like the overall finish of it. But now that I don't have it, I wish I had it again. It's just, I don't know. I have a weird relationship with that piece.
I think they got some on their site still. I'm sure Tom
They
would love
do.
it. Just going
They
to buy one
do,
off the
but
site.
it's so expensive for what it is.
But you got another Tauntaun.
Yes, that does outshine the other one.
Just
Yeah, a little bit. So,
That's all the master replicas in EFX limited edition and signature edition. If they came out with a signature edition of it, that's in there.
wow.
Fantastic.
And again, I kind of set that up so, like, if you go to I think the next photo kind of shows a little bit closer.
I'm just awing at the whole view.
Yeah.
Nice.
It makes you wish you were collecting earlier, right? Yeah.
I was collecting back then, and I actually
But-
had the master replica
uh,
Darth Maul. That's the only one I had. And at the time, I was like, "Oh, these are too expensive for me."
Well,
Yeah, I think-
I got all of those. I got them all when they first came out, and this is where people look at that and be like, "Oh my God, you make so
Yeah.
much money to do that." I'm like, when I had to tell him, when I bought these, I was a department supervisor at Best Buy. I wasn't even a manager. I mean, here I am. I'm just like working a department, and here I'm getting these and just keeping them aside. So if you go back one more, the way I did the case again is, I kept it movie theme. So I got all episode 1 on top, and then episode 2. And if you go down, you got episode 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then that middle row right there, you have the 3 signature edition Mark Hamill sabers from A New Hope, Empire, and version 2 Jedi. And then behind that is this dual signature edition Vader, A New Hope, and then the signature edition Empire, and then the signature edition artist proof Return of the Jedi lightsaber.
What is this one?
That one right there is the Mara Jade. That was the signature edition Mara Jade.
What was her name? She was the actress, the redheaded actress. Man, trying to remember. Shannon, yeah.
Shannon Randall or something like that. McRandall.
This is an interesting print.
Yes, that's one of the original prints by Nero. That was used for the Boba Fett fan club and Star Wars Insider magazine, I think it is. That is signed by the artist Nero and by Boba Fett himself, Jeremy Bulloch. I do collect much art. I collect fine art, which you've seen some of the other stuff with the Adam Hughes print, this print, and then all the way even to the next one, which is a crushed velvet painting of Admiral Akbar. So, yes, we have all ends of the spectrum.
Love that. That's awesome.
You can't get tackier than that. I love it.
No.
Who's that?
Oh, and the frame goes perfect with the crushed velvet. Look at that.
That's how it came. It came framed and all, just like that, right from Mexico, right from Tijuana. I loved it. I mean, you can't beat this.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, really? That sounds awesome.
That is pretty great.
But I got so much art, and I could sit here and just go through art for hours, because I got a blueprint file drawer that is just filled with art, all from shows, conventions, online.
I was gonna say when I saw this, Rob, when I saw this pic, I was like, I haven't yet seen anybody else who literally has a flat file in the house besides me. But here you go.
Yep. It's the only way to store them, because you can't have tubes everywhere. It's just this is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I should show you the photo of my guest room right now. I have like 15 tubes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're all empty. They're all empty, but I've seen it's been tempting. Some folks will have the flat file that's got glass on the top, so that you can see what's on the top, the top layer. So you could always switch out the one that you have flat on the top layer. So it's kind of like always a rotating art piece.
That's cool. Sounds like a lot of work, but it's cool.
Yeah.
I got mine from an old it was a Blick that was changing locations, and they weren't taking the flat files, and they're like, if you can get it out of here, they're like, they're yours. They actually had 5 of them to take. I only took 2 and stacked them, but they were so heavy. And
flat files, you can they're often up for giveaway or real cheap.
Yeah.
Well, it's just the weight and the size is so it's really difficult to transport. Yeah.
This is very interesting. I like how did you have this? Did you have get all the signatures, or?
I got every single signature on that poster personally. That is the British Quad official poster. It's dual-sided of the full trilogy. It's got Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, Anthony Daniels, Jeremy Bulloch, all the way back to even Phil Brown, who played Uncle Owen.
What I like is how you had them signing who they were in the movie as well.
Yeah, I got over 100 autographs on that. There's only 5 key autographs that I'm missing on there. I would love to get George Lucas, Harrison Ford, James Earl Jones, which I don't even know if he's even signing anymore, Frank Oz, and John Williams. So
yeah,
this is my call out. This is my call out to anybody that's out there. If anybody can help make that happen, I will travel to the ends of the earth. So let me know where and when, and I will be there.
What were you saying about Frank Oz, Jason?
I said James Earl Jones would be difficult because of his age and the position he's in now, and Frank Oz, just trying to get him to sign something, man. It's tough.
See, what makes this so much more special is that you met all these people. You didn't just like send it out to get it.
Nope, I met every single one of them and was able to shake their hand and say thank you. You know.
Wow. Oh, the sentimental value on this at this point far outweighs the.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the monetary value is priceless, but.
Who's this?
That's Mark Hamill.
That's Mark Hamill.
That's Mark Hamill. He was actually he was too quick to sign it before I said to do it in the black area, but I'm like, it's Mark Hamill.
Yeah, if anybody needs to be in there, it's probably him.
Yep, that's what I figured.
Or
so that's probably what he figured.
Yeah.
Now the funny thing is that when I started that, I actually started a T-shirt too. So I got a T-shirt with the same autographs all on it as well.
Nice.
So now before you go to the next page, don't go anywhere yet. This is my theater room. So I built that specifically, and the two items in there are full wearable suits of armor costumes. The way I got into those is in 2012. I've been going to conventions a long time. In 2012, I decided I'm going to do a cosplay. Cosplay is getting really big. I really want to do one. And it was the year that Ralph McQuarrie had passed. And at that point, I'm like, I got to do something Ralph McQuarrie. So I decided to do a Luke Starkiller cosplay. And in getting the parts to that together, I needed help with some of the leather pieces, the top shoulder parts and the pads and stuff like that. So as I went to some places, they said, that's all complete custom. You have to go online to find somebody that can do anything like that. So I searched online and I came across this guy named Samuel who owns Prince Armory. And I saw some of the work that he did. So if you go to the next page, I saw that he had done some medieval stuff of fantasy and cosplay. So those are complete 100% leather suits of armor. They're fully wearable. He did a Batman, Aquaman. He did some other ones like Loki.
Death Metal.
So I contacted him and I sent him the information. He said, yes, I would absolutely love to do something more space and sci-fi. So he put it together and got it to me in time, and I was able to wear that for the convention.
Sweet.
So right after I got done with that, he called me up and he said, Rob, I would really love to do a Vader piece. And I'm like, it's not what I'm really anticipating or doing. He's like, I so want to do one. I'll give you a great deal on it. I'll do it for like half the price for what I normally do just because I want to do it. So I said, okay. So decided to go with the Vader, but he needed my measurements. And this is where I knew I was going to marry my wife, because at that time I had a strange request for her. I asked her, if I put a paint suit on, can you completely wrap me in duct tape and then cut me out of it so I can mail it to somebody as a body sculpt? She looked at me weird, but she's like, okay, let's do it. So I sent it to him and he came with the designs, and this is what he came up with.
What is it designed off of? Is it like any kind of like special influence, or
no?
Just what he decided.
Just basically, he had a hard time. He did a full write up, and it's still on his site of making it, where he just really he likes to take something in comic or culture or sci-fi and twist it into like a medieval themed armor. So he was kind of spitballing ideas back and forth with me to a point where I'm like, you know what, Sam, this is your thing. This is your baby. You want to do this, do it. Let it ride. So the next one is actually me and my wife. She actually decided to dress up as well. So we had a blast at the con.
Cool.
So then before he got done with Vader, I saw stuff coming out and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. This is going to be great. And then I called him up and said, Samuel, I want to do a Fett. He was like, well, you got to wait. I'm not even done with this. And I got other projects lined up, because he started doing stuff for commercials, for live, for other films. He's actually branched out. He's done live theater and stuff. So I said, okay, I want to do a Fett. He's like, well, how far do you want to go with it? Do you want me to do the armor, the weapons? How far? I'm like, just do the armor. I don't want to spend the extra money. I can take care of the weaponry and everything else. And so this is what we came up with on that. Now they are completely sculpted to my body. Altogether, they weigh over 50 pounds because it's all solid leather, but they fit right to my body like a glove. I can do jumping jacks. I can sprint in them. it just feels like second skin.
I like this
Wow.
shoulder piece. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the details are really cool. What he did with the armor, and what I did with the weapons, I put a giant battle axe on his back, and the tip of the battle axe, I had it be kind of like the top of Fett's backpack.
Oh, cool.
So that's me there. That's one of my friends wearing the Vader at the same time, so we can showcase both of them at that convention. But if you go onto his website, he does customs. Each design is only crafted once. That's it. He's done a Vader. He's done with it. He did a Fett. If you want him to do a Stormtrooper or something else, he'll do it. But then that's it. One and done.
Mhm.
But if you go onto his website, he's got full pictures, write-ups, very custom. It's a very unique piece. But the cool thing is with this piece is that it took me even further within collecting and other stuff as well, in that I was wearing this at a show, and one of my friends was working there. Came up to me, illustrator and artist of Lucasfilm, Matt Bush. He was directing his own film at the time, and he came up to me and asked me to actually be a part of that film. And he loved the armor, that it would really work for his film. So he actually wrote a character for his film that he's making called Aladdin 3477.
That's right. I got a poster of that from him.
Yeah. So you can see if you keep going, you can see the poster. I put it up on there. So he asked me to be part of this film. And I said, yeah, I would love to do that. So I started showing up on set, and then at times without doing the full armor, I would help out with some, backstage stuff, puppeteering, whatever I could do. And then on for my scenes, I wore the full suit. But he couldn't have the full suit with Vader because it looked too much like Vader for his film. So he then contacted over to Samuel at Prince Army and said, hey, we're looking at doing a film using that suit, but I need another different type of helmet or gear made up for it. So he did add I don't think you have the photo on there.
No, I saw the photos I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he did have the helmet on there, and had me star in the film and everything. And he's still working on it. As far as I know, he's getting closer, wrapping up with the editing of it. But I never anticipated that me with collecting, getting into this, now is all of a sudden had me be, part of a movie or a film.
Right.
So it's pretty interesting where everything has taken me. And especially, when you start, as you're familiar, if you're like looking for that rare find or that grail item that you're looking for, you end up traveling to different states or parts of the world to find it. And it's just the stories that you can tell. It's kind of like the Darksaber. The item carries more of a beneficial story than the item itself. And that's where the value of it is. You can look at an item and say, wow, I got those General Giant statues for that. And that means more to me that I was able to make all that happen than just the statues themselves.
When I look at these,
it's the foundational aspect behind it for sure.
Yeah.
when I look at these, the first thing that comes to my mind that I would want to do would be like the Tamashii Nation samurai figures.
Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about, Steve?
Oh yeah. Well,
That
that's
would be
what I
cool.
thought about when I originally saw the Vader and the Fett.
Yeah.
It was reminiscent of the Tamashii Nation stuff.
That'd be cool.
Robert, are you familiar with those designs, those figures?
Yeah, those are
Movie
Again,
real-
another thing I can't really step into. I would love to, but I don't know where I would put. It's one of those things you're like, oh, that is so cool, but I can't do it. So
Yeah, some of these things, it's just cool to have it for a while, have experienced it, and then you move it on and you get pretty much the same or improved value for them, and you've experienced them, and it's out of your system.
I still have all mine.
Yeah, it's hard to get you to sell stuff, Chris.
It is. It is pretty difficult. Very nice collection, Robert.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you. Very, very different and a lot of different things, and pretty cool.
That Robert, that vibro axe, is that made from original found parts, or is that just
that is made from original parts. That is the hair dryer on it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Oh wow, there's really found parts for the Vibro Axe. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's mostly found parts and model kit parts, pre-bleeds. The only thing that you have to have custom done, and there's been a few runs in the RPF, is the blade.
Wow, that's pretty great.
Yeah, if you look at the props group on Facebook, somebody was just selling parts to this.
Yeah, Ian has a few parts. I think Ian the Ninja has a kit up now, full kit.
That'd be something I'd be
I
interested in.
think I saw a picture of the hairdryer too recently on there as well.
Usually like orange or brown. Yeah. Another fantastic thing where you look into it and it's just got the most random of bits and pieces on it.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I did not know that. Learn something new every day, guys.
Yeah. And this is where Sideshow, some of them more, everybody complains today about Sideshow's premium formats or how they drop the ball or how they're in this sort of like rinse and repeat situation of being repetitive with what they release. But, right here, you're looking at the sort of epitome of what Sideshow release. You get the Greedo bust, you got the Gamorrean bust, you got the, Akbar. And then this is also, again, Rob made a good point earlier talking about the signature edition master replicas, right? So it's sort of at a point where a lot of these pieces, it's almost like you're pricing yourself out of the collection today if you were to try to backtrack and get these now. But when you get them then, and you've been collecting as long as you have, Robert, or someone like me or Chris, people don't realize how cheap they were back then, right? So they look at the secondary market value now and they're like, wow, what are you doing? What kind of money are you spending on this stuff? And it's like, well, no, I didn't spend $3,000 on just one hilt. I probably got 6 of them for that much or 7 of them for that much. But the same with these busts. I mean, they all go for a pretty penny now and they're hard to find. Some people aren't even aware that they were even made. A lot of new collectors coming into the game now aren't even aware that a lot of these were made. And it's just a beautiful setup to have. And even
the what's his name fits in well with these too. I didn't
fits really well together.
CZ3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it fits in well. And even the Salacious you have on display, that was a very, very sought after piece and still is, despite Regal Robot having made a beautiful version of it. This is the one piece that Sideshow actually had Tony sculpt as well. He hand sculpted this one before it went to production, and it's a beautiful piece up close. So
I did order the Regal Robot one, but I wasn't as fortunate as some people to already have it already. So I'm still kind of waiting on it.
Yeah. But it's interesting to see some of these pieces that you don't get to see every day.
I tell you, it's worth the wait. You're going to be blown away. It's
I mean, I can't get rid of the Salacious that I got. There's a good story that I got with it that makes me want to keep it. I mean, I was at a convention and I saw it up on a display and the guy was selling it, and they were still setting up. And I asked him what they wanted for it. He's like, "Well, let me check and I'll get right back with you." And then I'm like, "Okay, I'll come back in like 5 minutes." So I go and I come back and it's gone. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, well, what did it sell for? And the guy said, oh, we sold it for $150. I'm like, what? So I'm like, I was frustrated. So I was walking the show, and coming down an aisle is one of my friends that I know. His name was Leroy, and he's holding the statue. I'm like, what the hell, man? I was going to get that. He's like, yeah, I got it for $150. I'm like, I'll give you $250 right now for it because I don't have it in my collection. And he's like, well, I already got one, so I'll sell it to you for $250. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Can't beat that, man. Can't beat that. Now, did you get the McVader on drop? Because I remember when that went up retail, and that was like another sort of first in the collecting community when that thing. I mean, that was gone not even a day. I think that was gone in like what, 10 hours, 12 hours roughly. That sold out.
Yeah, that went quick. They only had 250 pieces. I was fortunate enough. I ordered 2 of them, and this is where I kicked myself because I got 2 of them and I had the other one, and the price was staying the same. And so I'm like, I needed some funds for something else. So I sold my second one for $1,200. And
well, yeah, I mean, they
go
retail.
for now, it's like,
yeah.
But
I mean, but at the time they retailed for about, I think it was a 900 or 1,000 when they released, and that was a decade ago. So it was a very high price licensed item, probably one of the highest ones we'd seen at that time. And like you said, the fact that there was only 250, Jay did an amazing sculpt on this, working with Ralph, and they went really, really quick. But you're right, they sat sort of at that retail mark for a while just because it was already considered high. So it's good to learn some of the history on these pieces and not just see them. It's good sort of going back a little bit.
You know what's really nice about this Macquarie one, the CFX one? There's not a ski salon on for its mouth.
No.
A lot of them
Oh,
are
the long.
long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's why I always joke and say, why the long face? Because they make them so narrow.
yeah.
But
These look
it's
great
hard,
together.
It's hard. Yeah, it looks fantastic.
These look amazing together.
I think the coloring on this makes it difficult. Anybody designing it in 3D form, what they always miss, and Rob, you'll know this because you have a piece, is they don't realize that the cheeks are they're actually opened. They're floated, you know, and then also beneath his eyes, those are up and lifted. And what happens with 3D prints is they make those bars that you see in the cheek area, they make them as part of the inner cheek, and that's what makes the face ends up making the face look so narrow because they can't see that detail due to the color. So the assumption is made that they're in versus out.
Big
The
fan.
Boba Fett,
Sorry.
that you have over there, the life-size one. What's the details on that, if you don't mind sharing?
That is a Don Poe statue. Right after I got married, I was looking for a Fett statue. I had the other ones. I already had. I bought from one guy. I got the Don Post R2D2 C3PO Stormtrooper and the Ruby's Vader. I got them all from one person. In fact, that was a hell of a find too. And I don't know if I should tell you guys what I got all 4 statues for. But but after that, I'm like, okay, I got to get the Fett to round out the collection. So I found a guy in Chicago area that I drove there, and I guess he grew up with it. His dad had bought it and didn't know anything about it. So I'm like, well, let me take a look at it. So I'm taking apart the gun on it. I'm looking for the battery compartment. I'm looking for the spikes on the boots and everything else that's typically gone or missing or what's going on with it. And yeah, just picked it up where he was like, well, we're just looking to move it because I have no other use for it. So I picked it up and just drove it back home. So
Nice. Beautiful.
Yeah, if anybody out there wants to just get rid of their really great stuff for cheap, just let me know. I'm in.
We know where you can dump it. That Leia statue, the animated one, is that life size?
that is a life-size animated Leia by Gentle Giant. They only made, I think, 350 pieces of that. That one came out and went, and I didn't even know it was out until it was sold out. So I ended up finding one in New Jersey. So a buddy of mine did a road trip and drove to New Jersey and picked up the statue. And you know, it's one of those things that, I mean, as I said, collecting stuff makes me travel around, see different things. When we went to New Jersey, I've never been through New York. I've never seen the Statue of Liberty. So I'm like, I got to see the Statue of Liberty. So he and I drove to a park area where we can see the Statue of Liberty in the distance. We took out the Leia statue and I posed with her with the Statue of Liberty in the background. Took a picture. I'm like,
I saw that. Yeah, that put a smile on my face. That's great that you have these corresponding stories because it just gives that sentimental value, right? That little bit of extra value rather than just having the collectible on display. And having the backstory, it adds a lot to it, and it just puts a little bit more of a smile on your face whenever you engage with that particular piece.
I think that's where I find a lot more enjoyment is the hunt. Me trying to find the piece, what I got to do to get the piece. And as I said, I mean, it's like kind of like what they had in The Mandalorian. It's like the Darksaber. It means nothing unless it has the story behind it.
Yeah, I agree. It's sometimes the networking, the relationship building.
Yep.
And when you get the piece, you almost, like, as happy as you were to obtain it, you almost miss the chase for a little bit, right?
You do.
It's kind
After
of
you
like,
get it and it sits there, it's like, oh, okay. Okay, what's next?
Yeah, it would go well with
too,
this.
yeah.
If they had done a Snow Buddy Padme one, that would go well with this one.
Yeah.
They have run a smaller version, but yeah, it would have been cool with the life size.
You always have the sideshow figure to
Nah, I want the life size so I can touch it. And
it's probably one of the worst figures ever made.
The hard thing with that Leia statue is that to find them complete like that is getting harder and harder and harder because it's a porcelain statue. So
yeah, they damage easy.
They do. So
Well, not easy, but you see a lot of them do.
the problem with it is if you the hand that's not holding the gun, the left hand. Now on that statue right there in that picture, the hand's not in it, because what happens is the hand slides out of it and it hits the ground, and because it's porcelain, it shatters. So anytime you find one, the fingers are snapped off of it, or it's partial, or some type of damage done to it.
I have to ask you though, does it come with eyewear protection? Because you might poke your eye out with those suckers.
You very well could.
Yeah, same with the 4 statues you have. Recently, about a year ago, there was a gentleman in Rhode Island selling the Ahsoka and the Rex, and I mean, he was practically giving these things away. They were stale, and everybody was losing their hair. They were all tripping over each other to contact them first. And I forget he wanted to do like a pickup only for obvious reasons. He didn't have the crates or the boxes for them, but some guy ended up setting up shipping or whatnot. But the problem is the condition. There was a lot of condition issues, and they had both the sabers. I remember the Ahsoka, the electric saber wasn't working properly. There were some issues there. There was some, a lot of cracks and surface issues. And it was just one of those things where it's like, as interesting as it would be to obtain something like that, having in the collection, you get to go through a condition report and say, okay, does this really make it worth it? But, understandable nonetheless, considering how rare they are.
Yeah,
Those are collections down there too.
So I tried it again after I got those statues, because one of the other conventions, General Giant had done the same thing for the Rebels statues. They had all the Rebels characters, life-size animated statues there. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to contact them. So I called over to the guy I talked to last time. I'm like, hey, I got those statues. They were great. I love them. I'm really interested in the Rebel statues that you guys came out. And they're like, nope, that's the one set. That's it. That's done. Sorry, we're not making those. I'm like, well, if you do, give me a call. So,
well, at that point, Rob, I think people have probably already caught on to like, hey, let me reach out to them, because people didn't normally think that initially, right? It wasn't like a thing to really do, but you're right, and that's a perfect example to bring up. It really does never hurt to ask. Because I've seen many things in collections. There's even some things in my collections where people are like, hey, how'd you come across that? And sometimes it's just as simple as like, I was curious, so I asked. And, it's law of averages. I mean, you're not going to win every time, but every once in a while, you'll get that one score, that one hit where you're like, hey, it happens,
Yep. I don't want to give out all my secrets and all my techniques, but I mean, even if you're at a convention and you go through the artist section and they got like the huge banners behind them, with their art and stuff. I asked them, hey, what are you doing with that? Can I get that? Sometimes they're like, no, you can't take that one, but I can order another one for you. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. So, you get these you get like the celebration print, but like on a much larger scale or something different like that. I've done that a few with like Jason Palmer. I got like his Leia print that he had done. I got that in about like an 8-foot wide print. And, it's the only one that he had done. So on the bottom in it says /250. Well, because it's the only one that size, he numbered that one number 1 for me and signed it. It's an 8-foot print of his print. So even just asking for stuff like that, I got, that's obviously too big for my file drawer. So I got tubes with cool display stuff or promotional stuff like that.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Gorgeous collection, Robert.
Thank
very,
you.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Well set up. Well designed. Just normally when you have a lot of pieces like this, it can tend to look cluttered, but this is well designed so that it works perfectly.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
It keeps getting shifted as new stuff rolls in, and who knows, it might be a complete different setup next time I post it. So.
Yeah.
In fact, originally the Clone Wars statues were not even supposed to go in the area that they're at right now. I had an idea to put them against the wall, but as I was building the basement and moving stuff around, I put them at that pole. I'm like, hey, this could actually work, and I really like the way that turned out.
I'm sure it changes from time to time, and as new things come in and you move things around. But as we sit today, what are some of your favorite, or do you have like a favorite or the sort of favorites in the collection? I know it's a tough question, but just curious.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's like asking me which of my kids are my favorite.
Well, there's always an answer. You just don't say it out loud. Right? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, it's hard to say. I mean, it's if I had to say one thing, it was probably the poster. Because of all the signatures I got to meet every single one of them. I mean, yes, I'm 100% about the props and replicas. I love collecting every one of them. But the fact that I got all those signatures on that poster and looking to make it grow, that's probably
that's an experience. Yeah.
So, but yeah, my hunt does continue. One of the pictures we didn't really talk about it, but one of the pictures I had the prop shop Kylo Ren saber. Those are my Grail hunt down pieces right now. Is to try to find the prop shop pieces. I would have gotten them, but my firstborn was being born. I was going to be a dad right at that time that they had just come out, so I wasn't able to jump on all of those, and now I'm just trying to backtrack.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful piece.
Sorry, I skipped over it. It's a sequel thing, so
that's okay. I figured that you guys probably saw enough of them, and you were just passing it.
No, I noticed.
Biased.
I didn't know if we were skipping over. Yeah, I didn't know if we were skipping for a reason. But yeah, beautifully made prop. And what's even better about this, especially with the prop shop, it's kind of a catch-22 where we all know that they had to shut down and close doors. But it makes these pieces even rarer, more sought after. But there was a sort of artisan approach to this. Where they were all pretty much done by hand. Once they were weathered, painted, etc. So. Yeah, these are all beautiful pieces. This is definitely one of the better ones. I'd say maybe second only to the Chewbacca bowcaster, but again, subjective based on opinion. Yeah, beautiful piece.
Gorgeous.
So, yeah, that's my hunt is prop shop, and actually I've been trying to find more film reel pieces, and in fact, I've actually came across somebody that's got a full 35 film feature of the prequels that I'd like to try to get back in touch with him. So he's got all 6 reels to each film.
Yeah, that's a real interesting display piece. I like the idea of that. I've seen one random here and there, but I've never seen that many together.
Some of the other ones that we didn't really touch on for the film pieces is I do have one for the animated Clone Wars movie and for a commercial spot for the Clone Wars show, and the only thing is that after that's it. There's no more film. Everything's gone digital. So anything after Clone Wars, there's no film.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of like about these. It's kind of like an old historic book.
Well, and was it a few years ago that one of the archives burned down because film is highly flammable? And we even lost the original, I forget what studio it was, but we lost the original Manchurian Candidate with, was that the one with Frank Sinatra? Like we don't have an original of that. It's like lost to ashes.
Much older films were made out of a kind of a different material than what they advanced to. Okay. I'm sure that these are still flammable. I'm not willing to try that and find out.
Yeah.
Far from Death Star, I think this is because he has some good taste.
Actually, I did have a Jar Jar. I had a life-size Jar Jar. That's where my my collection had started before. I did have the Pepsi statues, the Frito-Lay. I had the Maul, the Watto, the Jar Jar, the J.C. Penney, Anakin, and it just came to a point. It's just like, would I rather have this or another statue? And the problems with the Jar Jar statue, I honestly can't. I don't have anything bad against Jar Jar, but the bad thing I had with the statue is that his whole entire body was foam. It was just like styrofoam for his whole entire body. So you start bumping up against it, it starts breaking down, and it just starts really falling apart. I'm like, and that's what I look at for items I collect is just like longevity wise. It's just like, what's going to be there several years. I had an Elusive Concepts Yoda, and his head started to deteriorate and break, and it's just like, am I going to keep it and call Tom to rebuild my Elusive Concepts Yoda, or am I just going to sell it and move on to something more of an actual statue?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And that was a thing. I that going way back. I didn't know Tom personally then, but he would sort of rebuild and restore the Elusive Concept Yodas and make them a little bit more realistic and lifelike. And That's wow. Let's go. And Elusive Concepts, they were. I mean, you'd find them at like FAO Swartz, and it's kind of fun going back to these like earlier days, and
Yeah.
you know,
Had
as
to go make the
situations
sharper
recently-
image to get the life size Han Solo and stuff like that.
Yeah, they had the life size. Yeah, Sharper Image had the life size like Vader and Boba Fett, and you know, even you look at some of the icons, master replica pieces from the earlier days, and everybody nowadays like, oh, I want the shipper box, I need this, I need that. But what they don't realize is you're able to get those at retailers, and as long as you had the actual box that it came in, the black Star Wars box with all the documentation, you didn't always get the shipper box because you were buying it at retail. The shipper box was just to have it shipped in. And you look at like aftermarket now, eBay, and it's like, oh, it's missing the shipper box, and people are like, oh, well, take X amount of dollars off, and it's just interesting to see that because internet wasn't as prominent as it was, today as it was 20 years ago. It wasn't there, so you had to be more in the know as well and be on top of things. But yeah, and on one hand, it was much easier to collect, but at the same time, it's a little bit more complex to collect because you didn't have instant access to everything.
Mm-hmm.
But you weren't up against so much competition either, so it was like sort of that sort of gray line in the middle. But
the internet wasn't as it is today. You couldn't easily find stuff, or eBay really wasn't prominent then, so you couldn't search to get an idea for what the value of something was, or try to find something that you were looking for.
Yeah, a lot of the databases didn't exist.
Mm-hmm. One of the things with my collection that amazes me the most is that everything that you see here, except for the arcade games and the life-size statues, I have the boxes for every single piece.
Where do you have them?
Oh my goodness! I got them top of my garage. I got a whole entire storeroom here in my basement that is just filled with boxes.
I think we all have storage bins. I know Steve does. I do. I have a storage bin, storage unit filled with it. So.
But my next idea is because I am running tight on space. I think because with my work I own my own company and I got my little storage area there at my office. I might just put some racks there and start storing it there to give me some space.
You have to.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm always playing Tetris in my storage room.
I think we're gonna cut it off. I really appreciate Robert you joining us tonight.
Hey, I really appreciate being on. Thank you all for having me on. It was excellent. Thank you for having me talk about all this. I love it. That's great.
Yeah, I mean we could talk all night about this stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks again, man, for taking the time. I appreciate you working with us and for sharing and just giving some of the backstory and whatnot. It was really fun and really cool to look through some of the older stuff. We don't get to see a lot of that. So
it's great to see a collection that not everybody has all the pieces.
Yeah.
Thank
well,
you.
let's ask each other. I'm not going to ask the question. Like, if you had to pick one out of there, what would be your favorite thing?
Are you asking me
I'm
that
talking
again?
I'm talking about us, the rest of us. Steve,
probably all the life-size statues.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have those. Those would. I love the Clone Wars so much. Those are fantastic, and just the presence of those in a collection are just stunning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one of 5, right? Yeah. Yeah, love those.
CC?
Mine might be obvious because I try to stick with props, but mine would be the EFX Vader helmet, the concept.
Yeah.
I know where you can get one of those, CC.
Yeah, scratch and dent sale, hopefully.
Broken sale. Jason,
I really like that poster, but it's one of those things where the fact that you had the personal experience of doing that, but you always see posters, plenty of them with number of signatures, but it's always the prominent ones, which isn't a bad thing. You see Prowse, Baker, Daniels, etc., but you don't see some of the side characters or some of the characters that you fall in love with, and Nynum or whoever it may be, Gamorrean Guard or Bibford Toolner, and to see all those and the fact that you got those, that's pretty radical. That piece was quite impressive. That was one of the most impressive things I see in your collection. And one thing, a lot of people might snarl at this, but I've always liked the signature edition EFX, the Snowspeeder helmet. I saw that you had that with the X-Wing and the wedge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always like that one too. I know it's not super unattainable, but just a nice, clean looking helmet. Just that's at a time where they were just doing things right. And then of course, you know, just I'm a concept guy, so the fact they had the concept shelf sort of, you know, aggregated like that looked really good. So yeah, good stuff, man.
Mine would have to be the same as Jason's. The poster, meeting all those actors and getting all of them to sign, and is pretty awesome and special. And
Yeah.
you know, some of
You
them
can't
are.
top
I'm sure,
that.
no, you can't. You just can't.
It's just priceless on both. Yeah, on both levels, it's priceless.
Yeah, exactly. So I agree there, Jason. But all right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. What do we have coming up next? We have group therapy
On Friday.
Friday. And then anything next week, Jason, that we're planning on?
Yeah, we don't have just lining up some dates. Got you know, schedule's been a little heavy on my end, but yeah, we get 2 things coming up. Just gotta secure the dates, and then hopefully by group therapy we can throw them out there, or at least throw one of them out there.
Okay, cool.
And then we'll also have Shelter in Space for Book of Boba Fett again next week.
Is it Book of Boba Fett or is it Mandalorian? Which is it?
If it's
The
Star
magazine
Wars,
or Mandalorian?
how about that?
Let's keep it Mandalorian. All right. All right. Good night, everybody. Sean, Robert, just stick around for a couple minutes afterwards. Don't click off. So.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Right.
Thanks.